Hey, Andre. Hey, Dave. Hey, Linda. Samantha. Thank you all for being on the Santita Jackson YouTube channel. Everybody start sharing the show now, okay? Please start sharing the show. Start sharing, start sharing, start sharing. And today we're going to be talking about there is a group guided by Steve Bannon and other pro-Trump MAGA forces who are engaging in voter intimidation tactics that would shock you in Colorado. They're targeting voters of color. They're wearing badges. They look official, and they have been coming to people's homes, taking photographs of people's homes, and um, and asking them how they have been voting. So let me talk about that with C.K. Hoffler, and then we're going to move on to Brittany Griner. I think we need to really dig down on an issue that we talked about. Um, on an issue that we talked about last week when we spoke with her. You know, there's something called Equal Pay Day, which we're coming up on. And there's an Equal Pay Day for white women, for black women, for Latina women, for Hispanic women, for Latina women, for indigenous women, and Asian women, really Asian women who are South Asian, the darkest Asian women, because the Chinese and the Japanese Asian women tend to make more money than white men. That having been said, not that they don't face prejudice and bias, but that's true. Okay, and you know, I do, but before you do, put on your note, if you will, that Attorney Holmes, Shannon Holmes, that's coming on in the 7 o'clock hour, he's coming on at 7:25. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. All right, and so we can bring on Reverend Johnson. Reverend Johnson, hi, how are you? I am doing well, doing well, doing well. Thank you. Hey, everybody, Mark Stevens out there in DC and Jewel up here in New York. I'm still here. I'll be leaving late today. And Max, DC, going to reach out to you a little bit later, Max. Mitchell, all right. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mitchell. Cornell University football. Oh, boy, bless your heart. Bless your heart. Thank you so much. I've met quite a number of New Yorkers who listen to the show while I've been here this week, and it has been so heartwarming, quite frankly, to see everybody. So please, everybody who can, please go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Because of some of the traffic I'm getting again, YouTube reached out and they said I should be arcing everyone to the Santita Jackson, not YouTube, but Facebook reached out and said everyone should be going to the YouTube channel, which is the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about Brittany Griner and the gender pay gap. These basketball players, Pastor Vicky, the WNBA players have to really play essentially a second season. That is why she was in Russia and all the top players, which is a very, very woman thing. That's what it takes a black woman more than 200 days to make what a white man of similar skills, um, of similar skill set makes. It takes indigenous women almost 1 year to make what a white man makes. It's unbelievable. So that's what you're seeing in the WNBA. There's a reason Brittany Griner and all of these top WNBA players, at least 70 of them, are working overseas. Can you imagine? You leave this stressful season and then you have to go, Vicky, to play another season, and now they're about to be penalized if they're late. Yeah, and so if they go into a championship season with this European league, they are penalized if they're late returning to the WNBA. That just happened. And I want to make the case that if the NBA wanted to grow the WNBA, they could do what they do in tennis. They hold the tennis tournaments together. I mean, so you can play mixed doubles, you can do whatever it is that you want when the intention is there. When the intention is there, great things happen. When the intention is not there, no, they don't need to play a separate season. They could play the same season, and we could have basketball days and basketball weekends. So stand by, everybody. Thank you, Matt. Let's have a great show. God bless us. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's a joy to be with you. It's a joy to be with you today on Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. We got a lot to talk about today, so let's get right to it, everybody. I'm coming to you from WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. And it's a joy to be with you. Meet my morning stars on the Santita. Hey, Jewel up there in New York, and Max. And oh my goodness, so many of you, Mark is in DC, all my folks who are all over the place, please, and Dave up in Canada. Please meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Everybody, please get on over there, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and my official page. My official Facebook page is the Santita Jackson and Friends page. Please, that is where I need you to go, and that is where I can become your friend. Otherwise, I can't. Otherwise, I can't. Everybody, like and share the show. We're going to be talking about voter intimidation today with all the things that are happening in Ukraine and all around the world. Remember, we are in the 2020 election season, and voter purges are happening. Voter intimidation is happening. You will be shocked to find out what is happening in Colorado. There is a pro-Trump group that they are wearing badges, they are going from door to door, they're targeting voters of color to intimidate them, to keep them from voting. They're taking photographs of their homes, they're asking them whom they voted for in the 2020 election. It's dangerous, and we need to talk about that. And then we're going to be talking about Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner, we talked about her last week, but I tell you what we did not really delve into that we're going to delve into today is this second job that she had that pays her 5, 10 times more what she paid that she makes in the WNBA. And that is at least 70%, at least 70 in number of the WNBA players are going to Europe to play a second season. Can you imagine if Major League Baseball, as soon as the season was over, they had to go to Japan to work? Hmm? Think about that. What if we did that with the NHL? What if we did that with the NBA? No, they're tired after the season. They've worked hard. Yeah, well, these women work hard too, but they go over to Europe to play. They go out of the country to play because they can't make enough money in the United States. So it says as much about sexism and as much about our country and how we value women and our athletes as anything. Think about it. The Williams sisters are the biggest draw in tennis. And we could be at least as creative in tennis as we are. We could be at least as creative in other sports in the NBA and the WNBA as we are in tennis. In tennis, you have tennis tournaments, men and women play together. You have mixed doubles, doubles, all that in one tournament. So you go to see who you want to see. And the biggest draws for the past generation have been two young black women. Think about that. And before that, you had Chrissy and Martina Navratilova. Oh, come on, I'm a tennis fan. But I want you to think about that today. So I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT, and let's talk today. And then we have a big announcement from Dr. Deborah Holden. You don't want to miss it before we get some good news from Reverend Vicki Johnson. Everybody's day in Chicago is going to be rainy, but spring-like, 56 degrees. But Minneapolis, St. Paul, 38 degrees, rain and snow. A mix, everybody, in the NBA as we're in the midst of March Madness. It's wonderful to follow. The Timberwolves will be facing the sun tonight. And guess what? Well, the Bulls had a really tough time last night. Well, I guess the Bucks showed you why they're world champions. 126, the Milwaukee Bucks. And the Bulls, whew, 98. What a tough night, but tough times don't last. It's a great team, everybody. Millions of workers, according to this CNN report, who earn less than $15 an hour are finding it impossible to stay afloat as we are dealing with record inflation, inflation that we have not seen in more than 40 years, everybody. Essentials like groceries and gas are increasingly out of reach as they are reaching record highs. That's why some advocates are now pleading with Congress to raise the federal minimum wage, which has not seen a boost, get this everybody, in 13 years. In 13 years. What about Ukraine? As Ukraine forces aggressively fight back to take their territory, according to the CNN report, President Joe Biden will depart for Europe today. He's headed to Brussels on one of the highest state presidential trips in recent memory to rally the West at a pivotal moment for Ukraine. Indeed, President Zelensky from Ukraine will be speaking before NATO as well. It's an emergency summit in Brussels, and the U.S. and NATO allies will focus on ways to continue cracking down on Russia while providing support to Ukraine. For President Biden, the talks are also a venue to demonstrate the foreign policy credentials he promised as a candidate when he vowed to restore American leadership and repair broken alliances. Indeed, President Zelensky has asked him to lead this fight. The Senate Judiciary Committee will hold a third day of confirmation hearings for President Biden's Supreme Court nominee, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Yeah, last night or yesterday was 13 hours. And the questions were very interesting, everybody. I want to know what you think about that too. Just call me. We can mix up these questions in your comments. 773 763 9278. 773 763 9278. Indeed, she was facing an onslaught of Republican skepticism. And she currently sits on the D.C. Federal Appellate Court. She's faced these people several times before, and she's even won Republican support. But this is a different ballgame. It's the Supreme Court of the United States, and you can't go any higher, everybody. And she defended her judicial record as she answered questions from lawmakers and was grilled in some sentencing decisions. She was even asked about her religion, and she said, this is something that I'm reluctant to talk about because I want to reassure the public, I'm paraphrasing her, that I will be fair. Think about that, everybody. She outlined what she described as her methodology to approaching cases. And so, what do you think about this, everybody? What do you think? And as we are looking all around the world, look in the United States, we are in the storm season, the storm system that spawned deadly tornadoes across Texas and Louisiana earlier this week will continue to push east today, leaving a large swath of the country under the threat of more severe weather. Search and rescue teams were combing through debris and damaged neighborhoods in New Orleans, everybody, last night after a tornado slammed the region yesterday, killing at least one person. Louisiana Governor John Edwards said state and local agencies are working together to assess the damage. And those are some of the headlines. Pastor Vicki Johnson, how are you today? It's wonderful hearing your voice always. And we're looking for some good news.
Talking, you were way ahead of them, focused on what your response would be, not giving them your full attention. Have you ever been at an event, a concert, and you spent so much time videoing and Facebook living and taking pictures that you were missing out on some of the activities? Many of us are living every place else, but not in the moment. Living in the moment allows you to freely experience the world around you with minimal distractions. It allows you to give people your undivided attention as they speak without being anxious to make your point. When you do this, you might find there's no need to say anything at all. Living in the moment lets you see and feel things that might otherwise go unnoticed. Lives are so full now in this 21st century that minds are always someplace else. Take some time today to calm your mind and live in the moment. You can do that by engaging in a creative activity like drawing, dancing, or if you can't draw, then doodling. It is believed that when we stimulate the right brain, which is our creativity, it can calm the left brain that is always thinking and trying to do something. You can go for a walk and enjoy nature, or if your mobility is limited, you can spend some time looking out of your window at the beauty of nature this moment. You can do some acts of kindness for others and pay attention to their response. You can do some breathing, paying strict attention to the life-giving breath, which can be calming and make you present in the moment. There is no better moment than now. Right now is your gift. Unwrap it. Enjoy it. Take advantage of it. If you will do this, and I hope that you will, then to me, that's good news.
Amen, 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 Pastor Vicki Johnson. We are so busy trying to get from here to there. We're not even here. Thank you so much for that. Like, are you there?
Yeah.
No, I'm not even here. I don't know what you're talking about. Are you celebrating your services in person yet?
Yes, we are. We are in person. We began in person again on the first Sunday in March, and looks like we'll be continuing that way, masked, distanced, and our services are getting back on track to being a full service now. But we are yet being safe and enjoying worshiping together.
Amen to that. And how could we come be with you for that half hour of power on Sunday from 11:45 to 12:15?
We are at 8,000 South Jeffrey Boulevard, Chicago, Illinois, 60617. And you can get us on Facebook Live, St. Thomas Lutheran Church, Chicago, and you will be blessed.
You will be blessed, particularly if she sings. She's one of the best psalmists ever, ever, ever. She's always on me about singing, and I've started doing that again. Hallelujah. Amen to that. All right. Sending you much love, Pastor Vicki Johnson, everybody at 80th and Jeffrey in Chicago. The half hour of power, 11:45 to 12:15. They're doing this in-person worship safely, but you can follow them online as well. Everybody, you know what? We have got our doctors. Dr. Deborah Holden is epidemiologist, associate dean of public health at Michigan State University School of Medicine. And we have got Dr. Shanina Knighton, registered nurse, a research scholar at Case Western Reserve University, and infection preventionist, helping us to understand how we can keep ourselves safe, not just from COVID, but just overall. You know what? I'm pulling one on you today, Dr. Deb, because a big announcement was made yesterday. And so we're going to use these next 10 minutes or so to talk about you. Are we not, Dr. Knighton? Yes, we are. Yesterday, we found out there was an announcement that she has gotten a huge global position. Global position. She will be the dean of New York University's School of Global Public Health. Matt, I wish we had some sound effects or some applause. Find some so we can play it before we get out of this segment. Is this exciting news? What? Dr. Deborah Verholden, talk to us about this new position. Dr. Deb? Oh, everybody bring her up after I queued her up like this. What's going on? Bring Dr. Deb on.
She's showing she's on the line.
Okay, well, let's get her back up. But this is a this is a huge position. Okay, come on. You're being brilliant on mute. All right, Dean. You know she is. Dean Furholden. This, we are so proud of you and so excited. What a tremendous honor this is. What a tremendous position this is. You know, we don't see a lot of women in academia who are able to get this high. We certainly don't see a lot of African Americans and African American women. No, we don't. This is a huge position, but it's also a huge position that gives you an opportunity to really put your handprints all over global health. What are you doing? You will now be the Dean of New York University School of Global Public Health. What will this encompass?
So it's an amazing, amazing opportunity. And I just want to thank you for being the keeper of my secret because, until they make public announcements, you can't share it. So, you were one of the people who knew, but we couldn't tell anybody. So now we create and we build. The school is 5 years old. It is a global public health school. So NYU is actually a global university. They have 12 campuses all across the globe. They have 3 in the U.S. and 9 abroad. So we'll be building like a legitimate global health equity initiative that will be launched from NYU, but will be done in partnership with some very important and very sort of equity-focused organizations like WHO, like the Panamanian Health Organization. The possibilities are literally just endless. So I'm excited. This is going to be like a mad dash to complete everything and plan and at MSU because I start July 1.
So what do you envision for this position? What are they asking you to do? Because everything that you have done, to me, has arced itself toward global public health because, of course, equity and equality is a global issue. It's a global issue, trying to get vaccines out, trying to get people access to all kinds of medicines, really trying to get doctors educated. Just there's so much that goes into global public health. What is that exactly?
Well, and so, public health is really interesting in that a lot of the interventions and a lot of the things that we've learned in public health, they apply everywhere, right? So when we figured out that putting fluoride in the drinking water would reduce dental caries and that would, overall improve people's health, this was like one of the easiest public health interventions to implement. They just added it to the municipal intervention that we haven't seen, applied in other places. Look at how many parts of the world still deal with things like water insecurity, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you think about what public health will look like globally, it really is, the 3 academic missions: teaching, research, and service. It really is about training that next generation of scholars. Because they're a global school, they will also do the training, all across the globe, right? So they'll be training people in the U.S. who will be working on the global stage or working in developing countries or working in places where there are needs. We'll also be training students, in other parts of the world to be able to do work right where they are, or also training students who want to work in global settings. The research agenda, and it's really interesting when you're an academic because you can create a research agenda, but the research is really a product and driven totally by what the faculty do and what they take up. And so I'm excited to meet with the faculty. I'm excited to meet with the current leaders at the school to find out, where would you all like to go? Because the key is you want to build on the strengths that you already have and then figure out if there are some other areas, like right now, that they'd like to take on. but the school is in great position. We've got, definitely in the black financially. Their student enrollment is like booming. So there's, everybody loves public health now. There are a lot of people who really didn't know what public health was, didn't know what an epidemiologist was, and there's, nothing like a pandemic to elevate the profile of public health. So, yeah, I have some ideas, but the kind of leader that I am, I don't want to come in there and tell them what I think they need or what they should be doing. I imagine the stakeholders, the faculty, the communities that they're already working with probably have a lot of ideas, and I bet you would really value me listening to what that is. And then they will hold me to task to galvanize it into an agenda that we can all sort of own moving forward. But be ready for a global health equity initiative. What it looks like, I'll be building that in partnership with them, but it's coming.
Well, let me ask you. I have a couple of minutes left here, Dr. Knighton, and you've been mentored, and you've been very generous in discussing just how much Dr. Deborah Furholden has helped you. I know how much she's helped me. Um, what does her being named to this kind of position at such a prestigious university, what does it mean to you?
So for one, thank you so much, Santita. And you're right, she is my she-bro, okay? And I just want to say, we have a mentor that is persistent, as well as consistent. And, I was going to say just really motivated to make sure that she's making a difference. Like, that goes a long way. And that right there is what I would say really translates over to the people, that she may influence and that she may train. And I'm specifically saying that because even too, Dr. Deb, many people don't know this, but she is one, if not the youngest person that was funded by the National Institute of Health. Had a PhD, what was it, at the age of, is it 24 or 27? It was something ridiculously young, right? Then, on top of that, you talk about has been funded multiple times, okay, by the government and being able to make a difference. And when you are in academia and you are a scientist, that is one of the ultimate goals. Like, that's what you're striving for. That's where you're trying to get to. And so, with that being said, trying to understand that process and understand, like, the conundrum of that, she's unraveled it, right? Or she's cracked the key. She's like, nope, they ain't gonna like this. Like, nope, you need to do that. Like, oh no, like maybe this is the approach that needs to be taken. And so when you think about the fact that there is going to be a school of scientists, leaders, and global public health that is going to have a dean that walks the walk and talks the talk when it comes down to fundraising and making sure that she has had money to address different concerns, they're going to be wonderful to have her, because that means that they are going to then have access to a resource to help them be able to carry out their vision, carry out their goals, which again, we know many hands make light work. So I may not necessarily be directly in public health, and this person may focus on opioids, right? Where this one might focus on smoking cessation. This one might focus on healthy eating. And so now she can help everybody that's passionate about what it is they're doing figure out ways to follow out their dreams and help as many people as they can, just like she's helped me. And
Absolutely.
so I even just want to say, I'm actually, I applied for NIH funding, and it's a big deal to even be scored and to be discussed.
Well,
and
no,
I got that, right?
hold that thought, because I got a heart break. I want you to say that. I just want to give you a couple minutes on the other side of the break, because I think people need to know just what a big deal this is. What a big deal this is. What a big deal this is. And how proud we are of Dr. Deborah Verholden and you, Dr. Shanina Knighton, because it makes me feel good to know that women like you are in these positions where you have tremendous influence and where you're speaking for me and average people. I know that we have a seat at the table because of you. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show, we're going to be talking about how these Trump supporters are intimidating voters of color. out in Colorado. You would be shocked at what they're doing. They're coming off as government officials. Ooh, back in just a minute on the Santita Jackson Show. Hey, hey, hey. Yes, Deb, we had to talk about this today since I've been sitting on it forever. But people need to know just how important this is.
You did a great job. You did a great job.
Well, I mean, you told me, look, I can be a tomb, trust me. But it was like, oh, this is driving me crazy, crazy. Oh, oh.
Hey, listen, Santita, I told her, I was like, when I tell you one day I was about to send an email to her, and whatever it was, I was so excited in the email, and I was like, yeah, come on. I was like, being at NYU, and I told her at the same time, I was like, I have to stop myself.
Come on, Daddy. Hold on. Dad, come on. Well, we're going to bring him. Hold on. I got to bring my father over here so we can congratulate you, Deborah, for holding. We're on. Well, let me do this. Yes, I haven't told him yet, but I'm going to bring him on in a hot second. You all, this is what happens when you're in a hotel, and I've been sharing a hotel. We have been sharing a hotel with my dad. Well, let's just kind of let him not be this informal. But Daddy, say hello.
Hello, hi.
Okay, this is to my radio audience. Now, this is my dad. But Dad, I have got Dr. Deborah Verholden on here. She just was named the Dean of the School of Public Health at Global. No, at NYU.
Have mercy.
She say hello, Dad.
Hey, Dr.
I had to hold it.
Congratulations, girl. Doctor.
Thank you, Reverend.
I'm like, she's about to cry, get tongue tied.
You deserve it so much.
Okay.
You've been a voice for all of us, not just a doctor yourself, but doctors themselves. You're a doctor for all of us. We appreciate you, international doctor.
Now, Daddy, say hello to my audience before we go. And say hello to Dr. Shanita Knighton. She's one of the few infection preventionists in the world. And she's at Case Western Reserve University. She's online with us right now, too.
You got everybody, Santita.
Well, no, I got hers from Deborah. And you gave Deborah to me, so give me sugar. Give me sugar.
Deborah, give me some
Give me sugar. Give me sugar. What was that? I love you. Come on now. I love my father so much, but if I ask him for sugar, he's not gonna give it to me. But if I'm just walking by, he's gonna give it to me.
Take it.
You give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. Now, I love you. Now I gotta get back on the air. And you're flying to Chicago. I love you so much.
You coming on?
Dad, I will, but a little bit later. I told you I have things I got to do, so let me go and finish my show. I love you so much.
I have attorney Hoffler on the line already.
I can't, but I want you to take care of yourself now. Daddy, do what I say. Ooh, I love you, Daddy.
I love you, baby.
Okay. Now, Daddy,
Yeah.
you gotta go home and get some rest now.
All right.
Okay. Oh, Daddy, that was CK. That was CK saying hello. Okay, girl, he's trying to catch this plane. So, well, there you go, everybody. See, I thought you were, yes. Well, now, you see, I just told him now. CK, Deborah just got a huge position at NYU. She is going to be the Dean of the School of Global Public Health.
30 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, stand by. And you know what? Let's give her that sister love on the air. Yes. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. See, this is why you need to be on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel because my father came in during the break. That's right. That's right. I've been staying with him, feeling like a child, sharing a suite with him. But it's been fun for the past few days. My brother Jonathan was up here for the 25th annual Rainbow Push Wall Street Conference. Reverend Jackson rang the closing bell. CK and I were there together. We unfortunately couldn't get Dr. Deborah Furholden in here or Dr. Shanina Knighton. But you know what? We rang the bell. We had a great, great conference. It's been great, 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 great. But we are now celebrating before we start talking about this voter intimidation, because of course Deborah Furholden and Dr. Knighton are into that too. We're celebrating Dr. Deborah Furholden today, who is now the dean of NYU School of Global Public Health. They have campuses all over the world, and she is their dean. Okay, do that one more time, Matt. One more time. Okay. and see, we just told CK, who we've seen attorney CK Hoffler on MSNBC, on ABC all week, and we've seen her on the Black News Channel, and she's so elegant and blah blah blah. As soon as we gave her this information, she lost all of that and became crazy. But if she's getting mad sister girl love over here. We're so excited. But you know what? Dr. Knighton was talking about how important this position is. And I want everyone, I said, we're going to put all this other stuff aside because I want you all to understand that this is a huge global position for her to have. Dr. Knighton, you were saying that this meant a lot to you. Why? Because getting an NIH grant, getting these grants is not as easy as she makes it look.
It's not. It's very challenging. And I'm talking about they get a lot of applications. They only look at the top 50, and then they only score a small percentage of those. And then an even smaller percentage of those get funded. And so my first time around to the National Institute of Aging of NIH, I received a score of a 32, and it's in the 17th percentile, and it's pending whether or not it's going to be funded. And so I am thankful because I had her mentorship and just her advice. She took time, and that's the thing, and I talked to Dr. Deb, and it's interesting because one of her mentees, just I'm probably sure myself, the other mentees, everybody talks about the fact that, like, literally, she is a mentor that, as busy as her schedule is, will always make time for you. And that's the one thing that I greatly appreciate. Now, I know that she is getting ready to have a lot of people under her, but that's also how she was at MSU, believe it or not. Still a busy woman. But the fact is she still just takes that human component and is so dedicated to helping others win. And I just want to say, as a Black woman, that is so phenomenal. And as even a member, let's say, at Delta Sigma Sorority Incorporated, I always tell people that sisterhood is so far beyond just being a part of a sorority. And Dr. Deb is the epitome of that because she's always willing to reach out and help back. And I carry those same principles. And so it's just so lovely to have somebody pour that on to you. And so I know that they are getting ready to thrive. They are getting ready to win. And she getting ready to knock it out of the park up there. And I'm just so happy to be a witness, be a mentee, and keep on screaming like CK just did. Okay? Well, we knew she had it out the park when she said, I got an interview. We said, girl, you got this. It ain't nothing. Like, this yours. Like, they just waiting on you. We waiting on the formalities for them to tell you. Because we know how phenomenal she is. And so I'm just so excited.
That's right. That's why I said, we're gonna talk about what's happening with this voter intimidation, absolutely. But I said, you know what? I want everyone to know just who she is and how important. It's not that what she's been doing at Michigan State University has not been groundbreaking. It absolutely has been. And I've always wanted you all to understand just how important it is, how powerful it is to have her with us every morning. I know who she is, but I also know who Dr. Shanina Knighton is. I know who C.K. Hoffler is. To have these women share themselves with you every day is such a big deal. Believe me, Deborah Furholden, even when she's hanging out with us, she's on a Zoom call or something because she is a dean. That just doesn't happen. But we're so proud of you, Dr. Verholden. So, so proud of you. And we are, you have all of our support. The Morning Stars are going crazy today. They're so excited. They don't know what to do. And you should be going crazy. You should be excited. And Reverend's excited. He gave you the thumbs up and blew you a kiss. And here you go, which is more than I got from him today. I had to beg for it. But just so that you know, we love you. We're proud of you. And we're just very, very excited about all that this is going to mean, all that this portends. It's a great, great, great honor, and they got the right person. As what did Ray Charles used to say? They got the right one, baby. That's right. Do you want to say anything else before we start talking about this voter intimidation? Which I know you and Dr. Knight are gonna hold on for, because I know it is crazy. Because no one should be coming to your door, everybody. Oh, no, no, of course, CK, go on.
Before Dr. Ferguson, I just want to also let everyone know how exceptionally proud we all are of Dr. Deborah Verholden, because she and Dr. Knight have given a whole new discussion to healthcare, to maintenance of health during this pandemic, and to life. And when I tell you that I've personally taken what Dr. Deborah Verholden has said to me and spread it through the NBA when I was president of the National Bar Association as well. Everyone is so indebted to her, but more importantly, as we all sit there and rally behind Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, we need to know that in the healthcare industry, we've got our Dr. Deborah Verholden, and also Dr. Santita Knight, and these women must be a part of it. So Dr. Deb, so proud of you. I knew this would happen because it's God's will that the exceptional talent that you had would be exposed on a different platform so that everybody can see how truly gifted you are and how much you give to the world. So I'm so happy for you.
All over the world. Yes, we love it. We love it. We love it. We love you, Dr. Deb.
I love you, Bob. I really do. Thank you. Y'all have just poured into me and lifted me up this morning. This is truly an honor and a privilege to stand with you all. So thank you so much.
Oh, girl, look. Don't make me cry, because my lashes will come off. You know these are fake, right? I went out to dinner. Go, please. Girl, because I went out to dinner with this man, and he was telling me, oh, my gosh, your eyes are so beautiful. Oh. And those lashes, I was like, are you crazy? Do you think I have a half-inch lash?
I was about to go on the air about a month ago, and the producer said, "Did I think your lashes coming off?" 10 seconds of going on the air. I was like, oh my God, how good that was. Oh my God. You know what I did? I pulled them off. I was like, oh no, hell no, because I didn't have time to do anything. So anyway, I digress.
No, shoot, I would. I'd be like, honey, please, let me just take it right on off. I'll say this real quick before we go into this story. Pearl Bailey did Hello, Dolly years ago, and I'm so glad my father took me. Yeah. Billy Daniels, these are the great black figures in show business from the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, and this was in the 70s. And his daughter became an historic, groundbreaking radio personality in so-called mainstream radio. Yvonne Daniels. She died years ago. She was based here in Chicago. She was based in Chicago. I'm in New York right now, but she was a genius, and I was so excited to be with her because she was someone I really admired. And so my father and Miss Daniels and I went to see him that night. And in the middle of the show, Miss Bailey sat down at a table, and she started talking to the audience. Now, mind you, she is Dolly. Hello, Dolly. And she had these biscuits and this gravy on the plate. She said, look, y'all, I'm sopping. She said, y'all don't know what sopping is? She said, you take the biscuit and you drop it in the gravy. It's called sopping. And this was a completely white audience. They didn't know what she was talking about. It was, you were like, huh? She's like, I love it. I love it. We love you, Dr. Deb, and we're so proud of you. We cannot wait. In coming weeks, we know that you're scheduled. We are understanding that things, your territory has expanded, as they say in the prayer of Jabez. But, We're going to have you as long as we can and whatever we can. You know, we love you and we are so excited for you. And we just can't wait to hear uh, what you have in store for NYU and the world and the world. But check this out, everybody. You know, we've been talking about our voting rights, and this is something that offline I talk about with Dr. Knighton and Dr. Verholten. And of course, when you were the president of the National Bar Association and as chair of the Rainbow Push Coalition, as a civil rights leader in our community, you're very concerned about the vote. I mean, as we are talking about Ukraine and maybe kind of talking about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, we're more concerned about what's happening over there. This is what's happening in the United States, everybody. In Colorado, voting rights groups like the NAACP, Mi Familia Vota, and the League of Women Voters have had to sue a group in um, in Colorado. They're the county and local organ. They have a county and local organizing playbook. They're a group that was pulled together. The United States Election Integrity Plan. It sounds like a government offshoot, doesn't it? But they're not. They're led by Sean Smith, who's allied with Mike Lindell from My Pillow. I can't believe I have those pillows. Oh, Trump strategist Steve Bannon, and they're sending armed members door to door in areas with large numbers of people of color who are voters, questioning how they voted and taking photographs of their homes. What do you think about that, everybody? That's happening right now. That's happening right now. And CK, when this story was sent to me, I said, "Whoa, hold on, we got to talk about this," because while we're talking about voter purges, while we're talking about the rollbacks on voter laws, no one is. Do they have a law against this kind of voter intimidation, CK?
Well, how about just basic law? You can't go around with armed people and intimidate people. That's against the law. I mean, forget about voter suppression, voter intimidation. Although this is a supreme type of voter suppression and voter intimidation, it is against the law to intimidate someone, to go to their door with armed militia, because that's what it is. It's just not with armed militia. That's how I look at it, and force them and intimidate them into answering questions and violating their privacy rights. So that is outrageous, outlandish, unacceptable, and illegal in my impression. Now, then we get to the second stage of voter suppression. Yes, this is akin to having dogs with police officers back in the day, intimidating voters, dogs attacking voters, black voters that were seeking to vote. And so this is awful. It's horrific. This is absolutely horrific.
But I mean, no one is talking about this. I mean, and they sound official. I mean, how does someone come to your door? What, I mean, should the police be alerted? What should happen? Because this to me sounds preventable, but there's something about this that really sounds suspicious. I mean, they even have an organizing, what the city and local organizing playbook. And it instructs members to, quote, undertake citizens' audit activities to either refute or confirm serious allegations of election malfeasance. And they're targeting people of color. They're targeting people of color. They're taking pictures of people's homes, CK. They're ringing your doorbell. They have badges on. They look like they're the police. And they're not being stopped by the police, CK.
Well, the thing is, so this is where the voting rights groups have everybody, like you said, is very focused on a couple things right now, at least for the next week, and the space of people who would pay close attention to this, because I'm not familiar with this latest tactic of voter suppression. In Georgia, we have so many different tactics, but this is not one of them yet. But I think that what has to happen is our voting rights group engines have to get in gear and focus on this, because they're doing this because the midterm elections are coming up. And they're targeting different states where they feel. You said this is Arizona?
Yeah, I mean,
this is happening in Arizona.
This is in Colorado, and these people are armed. They're armed, and they're going door to door, knocking on people's doors, ringing their doorbells. They're asking them how they voted. I mean, and I would see, and this is not stereotyping, but for communities of color, where you have high immigrant populations, when you see someone with a badge coming to your door, would be frightening as it can be. But you know, look, as people of color, when we see the police come to the door, we are not happy. You are scared.
No, we are not. You're absolutely right. And the other thing too, when you're in an immigrant community, people think it's ISIS, and they
That's
think
right.
they're officials that are going to deport someone, that are going to arrest and deport someone for being there without the appropriate documentation. In our community, there's so much fear of the police, distrust of the police, police brutality that permeates our communities, especially in certain states, as we know, as we see on TV every single day. That when you see someone who is armed with anyone who happily looks official, you assume that it is the government that is coming to arrest, to challenge, to do something. And out of fear, sometimes people just open up doors because they don't feel that they have any option. And if people don't announce, they're supposed to announce, I'm a member of the Miami Police Department, and I'm blah, 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 blah. But if they announce with armed people, I'm from the vote to something, they probably feel this is government and that it is a legitimate inquiry, which it is not. So what has to happen is there needs to be widespread acknowledgement, recognition of this so that it can be addressed through the courts, number one, but also through law enforcement. People should have the ability to report this because this is not right, and people should know their rights. It's sort of like how over the past several years, we've developed know your rights. Know your rights when you're being stopped by the police. Know your rights when you're in certain situations. What are your rights as citizens? And also, so now there needs to be a voter. Know your rights when these voter suppression tactics happen. What can you do? What should you do? And remember, they're probably using cases like the case we talked about on the show of the African-American woman who inquired about whether she could vote, how she could vote, of the officials, and as a result, received time in jail. She went pursuant to what she was directed and instructed to do by officials, by voting officials, by government entities that led her down the wrong path. The reason why she inquired was because she did not know. She had concerns. She didn't want to do something that was wrong. And then there are others that completely, in different jurisdictions, that do really, really commit a fraud, voter fraud, and that don't suffer any consequences. So in the Black community, what we know in minority communities is that when this happens, we're thinking of the 5 years that African-American woman was sentenced to. We're not thinking of getting a slap on the wrist. And that's when there is no fraud. So this is a real problem, Santita, that has to be addressed.
It really is.
I'm glad you're bringing it up.
If it happens, because see, we're in the election season. I mean, we're going to have primaries and starting in a couple of months. I mean, I know my brother's running for Congress in Chicago, and that primary is in June. And so we're in the election season, everybody. We're here. We are here. They are. People are filing to run for office, federal, state, and local right now. And they're being told whether or not they're going to get on the ballot. I mean, that's happening right now. Even though we're not paying any attention to that, somebody's paying attention. And that's why I brought this point up. I said, well, wait a minute. When I was sent this story, I said, wait a minute. No one's talking about this. We're spending all of this time on Ukraine. And I think Ukraine deserves attention, but so does Yemen, and so do a whole lot of hot spots around the world. We're not talking about what's happening here. These threats to our way of life. Because we can't even get an executive order on voting rights. And see, that's why you need that, CK, because we're not protected. Does this not show just how unprotected we are in terms of our voting rights?
How about this would be the perfect area to focus on for an executive order? How about that?
So what are the next steps? Let me ask you this. Let me back this up. What if someone came to your door with a badge saying, and armed, wanting to ask you about how you voted, if you voted, how you voted, et cetera, et al. What do you do?
What I would recommend, and I'd like to delve into this further so I can have a more reasoned and comprehensive approach. But what I would do first is I would deny them entry. Now, I know a lot of people, I would absolutely deny them entry. I would ask, are you law enforcement? Do you have a warrant? I would ask those questions. The answer is obviously going to be a no, and then deny them entry into your home. And I would begin filming, take my camera out, record the whole thing.
Everybody.
You do not have to admit anyone into your home. Now, if they've got a warrant and they're law enforcement, that's different. But if they're not, and they just want to talk about how you voted, no. Because let me just say this. Let's assume there's no fraud. Let's assume you did do something, which I'm sure no one did. You're entitled to have your rights. You don't need to, you're entitled to counsel. You don't want to speak to anyone just showing up at your door, making allegations, especially not for some group. Because that's not how it manifests anyway. So I think you want to be very, very careful about that. I would not admit anyone. And if you come out of your house and they're cornering you, like someone's cornering you, say, I'm very sorry. I really don't want to speak to you. And get your phone on.
And what you saying, stream them live?
Yeah. Power of the phone.
Well, everybody think about that. This is a new one on me. I got to tell you, although I have to tell you, the Republicans come after Democrats about voter fraud and all of that, and they come after people of color, period, about voter fraud. But the people who've been doing this have been on the right. They've been the right wingers, CK. You remember in North Carolina, this man went door to door, and he said, oh, no, you can give me your ballot. He was either marking up the ballots for himself, or he was destroying people's ballots. And he just got some jail time. I mean, this is unbelievable. And I think that if you hear of any schemes, everybody, please let us know. But you need to know what your rights are. You need to know that no one should come to your home and demand payment for your electric bill, for your gas bill. That no one is supposed to. Your ballot is secret. You're not supposed to tell anyone how you voted. No one. It's no one's business. It's no one's business. So think about that. CK, in the next hour, we are going to be talking about Brittany Griner and this second job that she and 70 WNBA players have. Talk about the ultimate adage, a woman's work is never done. Can you imagine LeBron James leaving and finishing the season in May or June, and then he has to go overseas to play another season? Not an exhibition season. I mean, another season. Can you imagine Steph Curry having to do that? We're accustomed to them taking their time off, and then they are able to rejuvenate and launch another season. That is not what happens in the WNBA. It doesn't. And I think that we need to look at that. We need to look at the fact that African American women have to work more than 200 days to make the money that a white man makes by the end of the year before. For indigenous women, they have to work almost a year. Latino women, almost really. They have to work 10 and 11 months. It's something called equal pay day. It lets you know just how long it takes for women of color and white women too. But for women of color, it's even more exaggerated. We need to be paid for the work we have done. That is a song that Mavis Staples and the Staples Singers sang years and years ago. I first heard it when I was in Ghana it's a film, Soul to Soul. It was a festival, and they were celebrating Ghanaian independence. And the song that they sang that stayed in my mind, and I was a little girl, was "When Will We Be Paid for the Work We've Done?" When will Brittany Griner and all of these women be paid for the work that they've done? These WNBA players walk out of the season, walking into other jobs. Is that fair? You know it's not fair. And of course, Legal Q&A with CK is going to work it all out in the next hour of the Santita Jackson Show. Call us at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. Back in just a minute. Okay, Anna Johnson Gray. Oh, go on. Keep talking, Shanina.
I was just going to say I did not know that it was illegal to intimidate somebody, because the one thing that made me think about that when you said that was the fact that we lost our head, like our public health director or the head of the pandemic, Amy Acton, because they were circling her house with guns because of some of the decisions that she was making during the pandemic. And I'm not sure if people remember that, but it was on the news and everything, the fact that they was literally outside of her house with guns, like sitting outside of her house. And I'm talking about just white men just sitting there with flags on outside of her house with guns. And she ended up stepping down from that position.
Well, let me just tell you about how we know it's, I mean, just think about it. Just think about it. When we have police officers, like when Kim Potter, right, when she shot and killed Dante Wright, murdered him, immediately she had rank and file officers, because a lot of people were protesting and very, very upset. Rank and file police officers surrounding her home. They took her out. She had to leave the jurisdiction here and there because of what they perceived as intimidation. It is, you cannot, that was part of the civil rights movement. It was intimidation that Black people felt at the polls. So it is illegal. Now, the second question is, if you call the police and say that's happening, are the police going to come to your house? Are they going to do anything about it? I don't know if that doctor who was making those decisions, she probably did call law enforcement, but sometimes people think that, you know, a lot of times we call the police. Listen, I know this with women, for instance, who are experiencing domestic abuse or a threat of domestic abuse and have experienced it before. When they call the police, they'll say, well, have they hit you? Yes. Have you been, in other words, are you half dead? Have you been? And so a lot of times, but because it is illegal to threaten, whether it's in a domestic situation, especially with arms. I mean, these are armed people that are imposing this threat. So different jurisdictions might have different guidelines, but as a general proposition, there could be an avenue in reporting that and for law enforcement to come out. The question is, will in different localities, because you know different jurisdictions handle these things differently, will they come out? I mean, if you call someone in the Chicago Police Department and tell them that you're being threatened and intimidated with armed militia people who are questioning you about voting, are they going to come out to your house? I mean, let me just pose that question. Are they going to come out to your house? No, that's the question. Are they going to? But they should, because they probably will take the position. Did anyone get shot? Because we're dealing with people who get shot every day. But that doesn't mean it's not illegal. That doesn't mean it's not a violation of the law. There are many civil laws that are violated, but also, in my impression, there are some criminal statutes that would preclude that as well. In most states, there are criminal statutes that preclude intimidation tactics. And in some states, there are statutes, and I can't off the top of my head, because this is something I really have to research and look greater into, that actually have, where this type of stuff has happened before, they have statutes on point that make it an issue, a problem, from a criminal standpoint. So but on a local, again, you have to look at your police departments. You have to look at, I mean, this is how we're able to, take your phone out, document voter suppression and things of that nature, so that if there are statutes can be enacted. And sometimes there's statutes on the book and no one even knows about them. So, and just think about it, since we're talking about Chicago, Santita, and I hate to focus on Chicago, I mean, they sure did spend a lot of money on Justice Smollett.
Oh.
So, I'm just saying.
Look, I'm right here with you.
Okay, attorneys O'Neill and Conley ready?
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And then we'll bring up Attorney Holmes at 7:25.
Yep, copy that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt. You're great. I called Terry O'Neill after midnight. Just so that you know, I love you, Attorney O'Neill. I said, you know what? I have something for you. And I said, she is on her way to bed. She was like, what does this woman want? Well, CK and I need you in the morning, please. But no, this is look. When, you know,
It's only 9 o'clock where I was.
well, you know, it's about midnight for me. I sat down. You know, I was really tired yesterday, but I sat down, and that was the thing. You know, when you're tired and you sit down, that's it. And now I was once I stopped, I fell asleep, and then you know I had to get up, and I was like, "Is my father back? Oh, let me go check on him." You know, just all this stuff. And I was like, but the show is not their loose ends. I got to make sure.
1 minute.
And then I reached out to Shannon in the middle of the night too, and fortunately he responded. So that's great. So this is great, 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 great. And we have loved watching you on MSNBC, CK. You have made us so proud. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. You know, for me, this journey that I'm on now, it's just something that I do because it's a labor of love to have a different voice out there speaking on these issues.
Well, look,
I got a legal question.
Honey, this is not a complaint. We're excited, and you all need to let ABC and MSNBC know that you want more of CK. I told you all that. Let them know. Let them know. How about that?
How about 10 seconds?
How about that? That's right. Yeah. Stand by. So Aaron, you there? Hey, girl, stand by. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Please meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. The Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. I know it's been acting crazy today, but thank you all for hanging in there. Go on to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. And please go to the Santita Jackson and Friends page on Facebook. That's my official page. That's my official page. The other pages, I can't take any friends, but this is where I need you all to go. And everybody, please, please share the show. Dave, D-Ray, Linda, Jewel, everybody, share the show, Renee, with at least one person you know today. Would you do that for me? Thank you so much. What have we been talking about? We've been congratulating Dr. Deborah Holden. She is now the Dean of New York University's School of Global Public Health. That is a huge position, and you're going to be hearing more about that going forward. We, of course, got good news from Reverend Vicki Johnson here in Chicago. And then, of course, we were talking with Dr. Shanina Knighton, who helped us to really get the context for the magnitude of this tremendous honor that we are seeing, the elevation of Dr. Deborah Holden. But don't sleep on Dr. Shanina Knighton. Dr. Holden said the girl is pure genius and expect great things from her. And of course, the brilliant attorney C.K. Hoffler, who has been with us. We've been watching her analyze the hearings of Ketanji Brown Jackson, among other cases, on ABC News this week, on MSNBC, on the Black News Channel. Call all of those networks and let them know just how much you love watching her and how much more you want to see of her. Why not have her on The View, everybody, right? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So, everybody, we're going to welcome Attorney Terry O'Neill, the past president of the National Organization of Women and brilliant political organizer, Covenant Strategies, Attorney Aaron Connolly, and we're going to have attorney of sports lawyer, Attorney Shannon Holmes, a little later in the show, as we're talking about Brittany Griner. Why are we talking about Brittany Griner? Because, you know, she was detained by Russian authorities. We didn't know about it initially. Then when we found out about it, we said, okay, what can we do to get her released? What happened? They said, well, she was carrying an illegal substance. Okay, but is there anything we can do? But, you know, there were some deeper questions there. The deeper question is, why was she working over in Europe in the first place? Why was she working in Europe? Because the WNBA players don't make enough money. And so we can talk about the revenue model of the WNBA versus the revenue model and the monies generated by the different leagues. But we also need to look at how the NBA could help the WNBA to grow. Because if you look at tennis, they play their tournaments together, men and women, and it's been great for the whole sport. Why can't the WNBA and the NBA do that? Let's talk about it. Because these women have to work a second job in order to entertain their fans at home. They really want to play for the United States, but they have to go to Europe. They have to leave the United States. They have to get another job, which takes us to equal pay day. And so we're going to be talking about that. Black women have to work more than 200 days into the next year to make what a white man has made by December 31st of the year before. But it's even worse for indigenous women. Indigenous women have to work 11 months. Latino women have to work 10 months. South Asian women have to work almost that long. We got to talk about that today on the Santita Jackson. So let's get right to it. In Chicago, we're going to have a high of 56 degrees and rain. It's going to be a lot colder for Minneapolis, St. Paul. Rain and snow, 38 degrees will be the high. The Timberwolves will be playing the Suns tonight. And last night, well, the Bulls had to take it on the chin. From the world champions, no less. The Bucks 126, the Bulls 98. Millions of workers in the United States, according to the CNN report, who earn less than $15 an hour are being walloped by this inflation. By the inflation, they're not able to afford groceries, they're not able to afford gas, which are seeing prices that we have not seen in 40 years. Inflation is just killing people. That's why some advocates are now pushing for a raising of the minimum wage, which has not seen a boost in almost 13 years, everybody. Think about that. As Ukrainian forces aggressively fight to take their territory, President Joe Biden will depart for Brussels today to meet with NATO and other Western leaders, Western European leaders, that is. They say it's one of the highest stakes presidential trips that he's taken because indeed he ran on foreign policy, and of course he did that in the Senate. So what do you think about that, everybody? At the emergency summits in Brussels, U.S. and NATO allies will focus on ways to continue cracking down on Russia. We'll see how that goes. I wonder if they'll have peace talks too. Maybe not. The Senate Judiciary Committee will hold a third day of confirmation hearings today for Biden's Supreme Court nominee, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, facing Republican skepticism. Jackson, who currently sits on D.C.'s federal appellate court, defended her judicial record yesterday amid some very interesting questions from Republicans, I might add. She also outlined what she described as her methodology for approaching cases. She indeed is known for writing very long opinions so that you can understand exactly why she arrived at the conclusion at which she arrived. As long as Senate Democrats keep their caucus unified behind her, they will have the 50 votes they need for confirmation, of course, with the breaking vote being Vice President Kamala Harris. Praying for all of our brothers and sisters in the South. The storm system that spawned deadly tornadoes across Texas and Louisiana earlier this week will continue to push eastward today. What is going to happen, even in New Orleans? They have been struggling. So I want to know, what are we going to do about making sure that we keep the infrastructure of the United States built and rebuilt? Because that is really kind of tough, everybody. It's kind of tough. So I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278, and let us talk about Brittany Griner. But before we do, I want you to call 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, because I want you to have financial freedom. If you have no credit, if you have credit that has been destroyed, if you've had to file for bankruptcy, if you need to build your credit, if you need to rebuild your credit, if you need a VA loan, if you need to refinance your home, if you need a reverse mortgage, whatever it is that you need, no problem is too great for David Hochberg and his team. I want you to call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, and talk to them, have a free consultation, and talk to them about your particular financial dilemma. I don't know what it is. It might even be huge credit card debt that bedevils so many people. But guess what? It doesn't have to bedevil you. If you go to 855-56-DAVID, they can help you. Have the free consultation. Tell them everything that is going on with you. Tell them everything that is going on with you. And I promise you, they will help you. Go to Call them at 85, call them at 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com. 56david.com. You really need financial freedom. You deserve it. And I want you to have it, everybody. So please call them. They have had people with tens of thousands of dollars of debt, more than $100,000 of debt. They've been able to resolve it, cut down those monthly payments, save people thousands of dollars in the process, refinance their homes. They have so many five-star Google reviews. They can help you. Just call them and get that free consultation. The free consultation, you unburden yourself to them, let them know everything. Then they will come back to you with a plan so that they can help you to bring your debt, let's bring it down, to get rid of it, so that you can go on and be financially free. Everybody, let's talk about Brittany Griner, WNBA player, Olympian gold medalist, a world NBA champion, college champion. No one has greater credentials as an athlete than Brittany Griner. She is a true superstar. And she is in jail over in Russia right now, trying to earn money. She's a married woman. She's a mother. She is trying to earn money that she cannot earn as an elite athlete in the United States. At least 70 WNBA players have to take on a second basketball job, but they have to go overseas so that they can make 5, 10 times as much as they make in the United States while they can. And athletics, you need to be young, you need to have full command of your physical strength. So you have a very short window in which you can make this money, in which you can make this mark. So they have to, what does they say, make hay while the sun is shining? And that is what these young ladies are doing. But is it fair? Think about Steph Curry. Think about LeBron James. Think about Kobe Bryant at his height. Think about Michael Jordan. Can you imagine, after having played these really, really tough seasons, can you imagine them leaving the championships or the playoffs or the end of the season, and then they have to go overseas and play another season? Not an exhibition season, but another season. What if that happened in Major League Baseball? Think about that. That is what is happening in the WNBA. Now, mind you, the WNBA could come and the NBA could come up with something special like they do in tennis. CK, they could combine all these games. They could and have basketball weekends, or just have just a great time where you can watch some great basketball, because basketball is basketball, and if someone can play the game, you love watching them do it. So let's talk about this today. Let's talk about this because when you look at the figures, they're stunning. Legal Q&A with CK is right here, right now. Attorney CK Hoffler, what do you make about this? I mean, $228,000 a year for the top WNBA player, a minimum of $60,000 a year. It's not a lot of money. And I had to think about Equal Pay Day for Black women, it's September 21st. For Asian American and Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander women, it's May 3rd. Indigenous women, get this, CK, it's November 30th. Latino women, it's December 8th. They basically have to work a year to make what a white man has made the year before. And talk to me.
Yeah, Santita, it's crazy. It's crazy. And Santita, good morning, Santita, and to our amazing panel and to our listeners. Well, I'd like you to think of this in this context. I have two sons who play football. They're in their teens, one of them in college. I want you all to know, because of NIL, which is a new law that allows football players, college football players, to be paid for their likeness. If companies come and say, look, I want to use you for advertising and likeness, the players can get paid. Some of them are getting paid $1 million, as in $1 million to kids who are 18, 19, and 20 years old. I just want to situate this. And these are male football players, and I know because I have these young kids in my home. At least one's still at home, and both of them play football. So I'm very much aware, because I want you all to juxtapose with these children, because they're still children at that age, are getting for their likeness versus what a grown woman is making, which at most it appears is $250,000 a year. $250,000 $250,000 a year to play in the professional women's league in this country. Brittany Grenier's case demonstrates how ludicrous it is that women who put their bodies to the same rigor, women athletes, the same rigor as the male basketball players, the same type of rigor, get paid a pittance as compared to what their male counterparts get. And that's the reason why Brittany Grenier found herself in a situation where she could make 3 to 4 times as much as her annual salary playing in our league here in the United States in Russia. It's a matter of survival. It's wrong. It makes no sense. And now she finds herself in detention in Russia. Now, to be fair, there are some underlying activity, that allegations that are criminal in Russia. Now, again, I call them allegations, Santita, because we really don't know what we don't know. Mm-hmm. She's alleged to have had cannabis oil and vape. You know, there are different stories about what she allegedly had, which is illegal in Russia when she was at the airport traveling, seeking to come back to the U.S. So that's what we're told. We do know that there are a lot of Americans that have been detained with trumped-up charges. This is what we are told. We don't know. The system, because our diplomatic relations with Russia are very strained, and because, you know, there is a war in the Ukraine, where we have taken an adverse position against Russia, it appears, so we've got to just remember, there could be underlying claims that have some validity. But whether they are valid or not, I believe that Brittany Grenier is caught up in the political quagmire of potentially what could be a world war, and that would be tragic. Mm-hmm. So the solution to her legal woes could be that she could be incarcerated in Russia for years, because their legal system is very different from our legal system. And for people who travel internationally, you've got to observe and understand what the laws are of where you are traveling. And just don't engage in illegal activity, just period. Don't do it. If you don't do it here, you shouldn't do it anywhere. If you do it here, definitely don't do it when you travel overseas. That would be my thought. But her release could very well be, Santita, part of a diplomatic solution or resolution if we see one with this war in the Ukraine. This is very, very complicated. It's very complex. But you know, Santita, at its core, it's the pay inequity. Because she would not have been, more than likely, playing and, you know, killing her body, diminishing the length that she'd be able to earn a living in basketball, but for the fact that she's not able to earn a living to support herself and her family, because she is married. She has a family.
Well, you know, this is why, you know, you filled out your panel with the past president of the national organization, the past national president of the National Organization of Women. I mean, and, you know, Attorney Terry O'Neill, civil rights lawyer, and of course, Attorney Erin Connolly, brilliant political strategist, and we're going to be welcoming Attorney Shannon Holmes, sports lawyer from California, in just a few minutes. Why don't you respond to what you heard CK say, Attorney O'Neill? I mean, a woman having to basically have to get another job. They have to play another season, Terry.
That's exactly right. And CK is spot on exactly everything she just said. It's really outrageous. And you know, one of the most outrageous things is some of those WNBA teams are owned by the same people who own NBA teams, right? And so you have it. Just imagine. I can't remember which teams are owned by. You know, you have one owner owning both a WNBA and an NBA team, but that's completely outrageous. Within one sort of family of professional basketball team, you have an owner who says, yeah, the men are going to get in the millions as my employees, but the women, we're going to have them be just, you know, like $100,000. The average, I think the average is just a little over $100,000 a year for elite professional basketball players. Brittany Grenier is very elite. She's got 2 gold medals, right? And owning just, as CK says, just a pittance of what is paid
to her counterparts in the NBA. And so, yes, she absolutely was put at risk by the system that so badly underpays women, and it's very scary because she's an icon for LGBTQ sports fans everywhere, and we know that Russia is both deeply racist and deeply homophobic in its government structure, and so having a system, a WNBA and an NBA system that puts elite women athletes at risk like this, we really do. We need to be sounding the alarm loudly and getting this fixed as soon as we can.
I'm trying to figure out how it is that we can justify having a WNBA and NBA function as they do, Attorney O'Neill. I mean, because when we look at tennis, I started thinking about that. I said, wait a minute. When you go to a tennis tournament, and fully disclosed, I've been going since I was a child because I love tennis, and my father was very happy that I found the sport that I loved. I must say. The men and the women play together. Now, what struck me then was that Billie Jean King, when I was a little girl, was really pushing because she came up with a women's tennis tour because she was protesting the fact that women were not getting equal pay at Wimbledon, at any of the tennis tournaments, anywhere. So watching her fight through, oh my gosh, has meant so much to me, just as a little girl, as a young woman, as a woman. But the tennis tour, they are together, Attorney Terry O'Neill. So you see doubles, mixed doubles, the men and the women play, and the biggest draws in tennis for the last generation have been two black girls from Compton, Venus and Serena Williams. I mean, if given the chance, we just want to see excellence on any court. Why can't they do that with the NBA and the WNBA?
I think that's exactly it, Santita. The fans want excellence on any court. That's what we want to see. We want to see these extraordinary, accomplished athletes showing us what they can do. That's pure joy. And there's absolutely no reason to differentiate so ridiculously between men basketball players and women basketball players. That's exactly right.
Because when they're winning at the Olympics, forget it. You want to see what they're going to do. That's what happens. I mean, that's why do you think that the women's soccer team have fought so hard? Because they are the world champions. I love our men's soccer team, the US Team USA. I love you. But on the world stage, they don't win. The world champions have been the USA women's soccer team. Aaron, when we get back on the other side, I want to get your thoughts. Because they're the winners. They're the winners. They've been winning, CK. CK, we have a minute before we're out for the break.
Well, this is what I would say. Until we address the pay inequities, these types of things are going to happen. And quite frankly, there should be a league-wide effort to address it. This Renee's situation is devastating, a tragedy, and I bet there are other women that are in the same position. We just don't know about it because there hasn't been a focus on it. And there was no war in the Ukraine to bring this to life. So it's a serious problem that must be addressed legally and very quickly.
I got 15 seconds. Why do you say legally?
Because of the pay inequity. And one of our, in a league that Americans rally around, it's clear pay inequity. That's a legal issue. That's a legal question. That's what we fight. That's why there are laws that can be enacted to counter that. So I think that this is an issue that we need to take on. This would be a good issue for the Biden administration to address.
Do you think the WNBA players should sue as the women's soccer players have sued? Because it is the NBA. Okay.
Absolutely. Especially when you got the same owners that are paying. That is to add insult to injury. That are paying their male players one amount and the female players another amount. And if the justification is, well, the fans aren't willing to pay, change the narrative. Fans will pay to see winners. Of course they will. But if you make it so that they don't want to pay because they don't need to pay, it's because this system is a men's basketball league is so much better, then they won't pay.
Well, look at the losing NBA teams. They can't fill up their arenas. But I tell you what, when you get winners, They fill up arenas. That's it. Bottom line. Venus and Serena fill up arenas. That's what happens. But they also play in the same tournaments. Hello? Everybody's there because you just want to see some good tennis. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show. Call us at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. Legal Q&A with CK talking about Brittany Griner today. Why is it that the WNBA players have to work a second job? Back in just a minute. Yeah, they have to play Hey, Attorney Holmes, how you doing? Attorney Holmes?
Hi, good morning.
Look, you are so sweet. Thank you, Shannon, for taking my text in the middle of the night. Okay? CK, I met him all at one time, and he texted me right back. He was like, oh, sure. Could we do it at 7:25? I was like, honey, anytime you're available. And please, and I have to give a shout out to Erin because Erin has an expanded family suddenly, and she has to make all this space. And Erin, I want your candidate on my show.
Well, that's the other thing. We have a poll coming out today, so it's a big day for the political side of my life. And the kids are on spring break, so you know what that means. Extra.
That means, what, that's your fourth job? Just kidding. Talking about a world.
Thank you for having this conversation. This is an area.
Okay, because I'm going to come to you, and then we're going to go to Mr. Holmes, because when we were listening to him last week, I said, wait a minute, you are absolutely right. They have to pay. They have to play a whole extra season. They have to play 2 seasons to get paid for one. And they're still not paid what they really deserve. If there was no audience for the WNBA, believe me, they would not have a WNBA. They know that there's an audience there, the owners do, and they know the potential of the audience. What they need to do is grow the audience. If we can pull losing candidates, so yes, I'm saying it, in politics, and put them in high offices, we can make silk out of a sow's here. We do it all the time. The only reason you have a WNBA is because there's tremendous potential for growth there. That's the only reason you have it. And they just need to go on and get down and pay these women and make this whole system grow. They can do that. Because if you just had some really tired NBA players, nobody would go see them. And if you had superstar WNBA players, which you do have, you'd go see them because you want to see excellence. Everybody does. Please.
And the system has to invest in those players, in those people. But the system is not built for women, as we know, right? As we see in sports media, sports law, all of these places are dominated still very much by men, and we see these breakthroughs, but there's still not sustained investment in the human resource that is amazing female athletes, and giving them the power to negotiate what they deserve.
And we have to bend it. We just have to bend it, because this is unacceptable. Because she's a knee blowout. All these young women are a knee blowout or some kind of injury away in the so-called off season, which is their real season. That's where they're getting paid. That's another season, should I say, from a career-ending injury. I mean, anything could happen. I mean, that's the nature of athletics. It's so precarious. And they need to make a whole lot. They don't get the endorsement opportunities. I mean, it's just, and of course, Brittany Griner is she's carrying another burden, being part of the LGBTQ community plus. But she's what, 6'9".
Well, and not just part of it. She's an advocate, she's outspoken, and she's a leader, right? She's taken some risks there, and being in a country like Russia, that's part of it.
Please,
we can't ignore that.
Being in a country, Russia is an Orthodox Christian country, so they're a Bible Belt country.
10 seconds.
And so when we understand that culturally, you understand where they are, because she's not going to be comfortable in many parts of the United States. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. I want to know what your thoughts are about this second season that WNBA players have to pay. Mind you, Serena Williams and Venus Williams have been fighting for pay equity even today. This is a fight that you saw Billie Jean King fight, and she won so many battles. We have no idea how this woman changed not just tennis, but she changed the whole playing field of sport for all women everywhere, all around the world. And we thank God for her and the courageous work that she did and continues to do. What a great advocate, Billie Jean King, just one of my personal heroes. And I thank God for her. But I want to hear your thoughts today. What about the fact that these excellent players, these world class athletes, and Brittany Griner, who is a two-time gold medalist from the Olympics, she is a college champion. She's a WNBA champion. She has to leave the United States as soon as the season is over and work another job, play another season. The wear and tear on her body, I can only imagine. But as we get to that, call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Let's talk to Chapearl, our girl, the Pearl. What's going on? Celebrations by us, 708-526-4546. What you got going?
Hey, Santita. Yes, Celebrations by Us is back at it. We are a one-stop party connection, and we are celebrating all of the youth this year, and we are preparing for prom and graduation season and also weddings. So right now, Santita, we're doing a lot of orders for prom setup, which basically consists of balloon drops, sweet tables, as well as also throne chairs. We have it all, as well as also our weddings. We're doing full setup and decor, as well as also the catering for the wedding. So whatever it is that you need, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 708-526-4546, 708-526-4546. Don't hesitate to visit us at celebrationsbyus.org, as well to take a look at all of our setups and pictures, because we have them available for your viewing. Thank you so much, Santita.
Sending you much love today. Let's get you, Aaron Connolly. Aaron, what do you make of this second season that at least 70 WNBA players, I mean the WNBA players, the people at the top of that particular league, that they don't opt to go to these other countries. I mean, they need to go to these other countries. And then, and we're not even talking about the players in the middle and the players who are really just trying to stay in the league, who make $60,000 a year, $70,000 a year, but they still have to be conditioned and ready to play. What do you make of all of this?
Well, thank you for having me today, Santita, and letting me be a part of this conversation. And I think it's important that, we mention how many of these players have to do this, right? 70 WNBA players are having a whole second season. And what that means is, as I'm looking at it, as this is on the owners and the players' unions to come to better terms for these women, right? It should be built into their contract that they do not have to do this. If I was an owner, I would not want my star player risking injury, going overseas, risking potential arrest or harassment or whatever could potentially happen. And you see the worst playing out now with this situation with Russia, because some of these countries have very strict laws. They are racist countries. They are not friendly to folks who are active and advocates in the LGBTQ community. And it's a risk, right? At the very least, these owners, these companies that are paying these world-class female athletes less than they deserve should at the very least be providing extra security or support in the off-season, making sure that they are investing in these stars the way they would on the NBA side, right? If we are going to put this high value on sports in our society, if we're going to pay millions and millions of dollars, there needs to be some equity so these star athletes who are required to have the same training schedule, if not more rigorous, right? We mentioned that many of them are supporting families, right? Mm-hmm. So
Brittany Griner supporting a family.
A large family, $250,000 is not okay, right? Mm-hmm. Now you're away from your family in a foreign country for months at a time. That has an impact. this is not reasonable. And it's not fair. And we see some great progress. I don't want to diminish the progress we've seen in soccer. We've seen some gains in sports like tennis, but we need to do better. Like, we look at the situation with the women's hockey league that is, the fans won, right? We see them doing an amazing job at the Olympics and in other world competitions, and fans love it. But what I hope to see, as we're forming new leagues and recreating these systems, let's build them for women in a way that gives women equity. We see powerful women take charge of some of these NBA teams, and you see the impact of that, right? Let's give them equity in their own leagues. Let them pay themselves what they deserve, and let's support them as fans and advocates and folks that are in the media, because we still see the discrimination that occurs for female athletes that go into sports media, for example. There's been some gains in that department too, but these systems are not built for women. So they're not going to immediately support them or demand things like pay increases or better collective bargaining. We see the need for better support for players and athletes across the board, male and female sports, right? Mm-hmm. These players are exploited in many ways. They have a very small window of where they can make a profit for these owners. And there's some disparities on both sides still with regard to health and wellness and follow-up after they're retired. So we can do better in a lot of ways to support these players, but at the very least, we need to make sure that we're investing in these families, these women, and we're supporting them not only on the court, but giving them enough space to heal and have a life. Just as the male athletes do.
Amen to that. I mean, and help them to build an audience. The WNBA season, Attorney Shannon Holmes, is really inconvenient. I mean, this is when people are vacationing, right? And then you have baseball. But I think that when I look at how tennis was built, and remember, tennis was a country club sport, at least when I was a child. It was moving into becoming, this big sport that everybody attended. But when, before I was born, it was strictly a country club sport. Okay, I mean, it was just like golf was for the country club. But you see how they were intentionally built and with great intentionality, and they've become these global behemoths. You could do that with the WNBA. You could marry them. You could treat the WNBA the way we treat tennis, Attorney Holmes. You could have NBA and WNBA games where they play, one has the top bill, the other has the bottom bill. That could happen. There are a lot of ways to do something. Your thoughts?
You're right, and again, thanks for having me again, Santita and Attorney Hopper. I really appreciate it, and nice to meet you, Aaron. I think we have to really consider a couple things. One, obviously, is just basic economics, supply and demand. And as you heard last week, I'm a huge proponent of the WNBA and the female sports, but I think we have to really be conscious of, how business operates, right? Supply and demand is a critical piece. And the NBA kind of separated itself from the WNBA a few years ago. And some people get that a little bit confused because there's still some NBA owners, I think about 5 of the 12 owners that own WNBA teams. Although there's still a relationship, I think the NBA has removed itself in some capacity from the WNBA. So we've got an economic issue in terms of supply and demand that we need to address. But how do we always address that, right? We typically address that as a country through subsidies or credits of some sort. So there's a way, either from the NBA and even from our government, to subsidize women's professional sports, right? We're encouraging our young ladies at a young age to be independent, to be strong, to become anything they want to become. And yet when they reach certain successes and certain height in the sports profession, they're tapped out. They're capped. So we've got to figure out a way to remove that cap, and we may need to do that through some type of subsidy from these leagues, from the NBA as well as from the government. So it's not quite equal, right? Because the average attendance at a WNBA game last year was about 2,600 people. And so, it's kind of hard to point fingers when we ourselves as fans aren't going out. And so then the other thing you do is ask yourself, household names. How many homes really know the WNBA players? And I think you'll find that it's just not there. So again, we've got to do a better job of engaging ourselves, and they've got to do a better job of getting the players into our homes so that we can get to know them and know some of the things that they're doing, so that we can have a better appreciation for the women's sports across the board. But I think there's a way we can address this. I just think that we as a country, as I said last week, we've got to really look at how we're doing it, just like we did with Title IX at the collegiate level. We've got to look at it at the professional level, whether it's track and field, whether it's WNBA, as I heard Aaron mention, whether it's women's hockey. We've got to provide an outlet for our women here in the U.S. to have an opportunity to display their skills and earn for the skills that they've been able to put together over the course of a lifetime.
Absolutely.
So I think there's some ways we can do it. I think we just have to stop and address those issues.
I agree, but you can't be what you can't see. We don't see the WNBA games, Attorney Holmes, the way we see NBA games. They're not promoted. They're not put on television, and they're not promoted that way. I mean, come on, who cares about curling? Well, every Olympiad you do, right? And and figure skating and on and on. I mean, when people want to make a sport, a live option for you and must-watch TV, they know how to do that. Like, they can make you love all your brothers and sisters of every conceivable background during the Olympics. Well, the hatred comes back in after the Olympics are over, but when you see the commercials, my goodness, it's a small world after all, and what a beautiful world it is. Oh, what a wonderful world. Let me go to you, Philip, from Central Pennsylvania. How you doing, Philip?
How you doing, Santita?
Great hearing your voice. Thank you.
Just off subject real quick. I want to see what Senator Scott's going to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, with Ketanji Brown.
We got a problem with Senator Scott. Now, with the women league, at first, the NBA has supported the WNBA when it was two competing leagues, the WBL and the WNBA. The WNBA, with the corporate sponsor backing, actually outdid the WBL. This is back in the late 1990s. WNBA is 25 years old. So it's a growing league just like the MLS is a growing league. And they both started around about the same time. The MLS are selling out crowds at 60,000, 60+ thousand in the seats now. Now, with the women's soccer team, I agree with equal pay because they actually outperformed the men's league as far as during the Olympics. But now with the WNBA, they only play 36 games. NBA plays 82 games, not counting the playoffs. We're just talking about the regular season. So now you're asking for equal pay for not even the equal amount of work, which is, that's why, if they were playing 82 games, I'm with you. Now, when it comes to college basketball, all the women's basketball players should have the same thing as the men's basketball players. They play the same amount of games. They both have the tournaments at the same time, and they generate a lot of money for the NCAA.
But you know where I disagree with you? Where I disagree with you is this. You can look at tennis, for example, because men and women are constructed physically differently, and we have different sets of strengths. Women play the best out of three sets. Men play the best out of 5. The most exciting tennis you will see has been played by some of the women over the decades. No one in her day was more exciting than Martina Navratilova. Nobody. Steffi Graf. You can just keep on going down the list. Give me whatever if you're gonna give me the best tennis and the best 2 out of 3 sets, and I'm taking it. And we could do this. We could say the same thing for the WNBA, because guess what? Men don't get pregnant. Women do, and all the things that come with that. So I'm hearing you.
Men have to support the families.
No. I'm talking about the physical. We're talking about the physicality now. Physically. And women have to support their families. Philip, it takes 2 incomes to raise a family today. 2.
I trust what you said to me, come on now, Santita. You know who you're talking to. So
Yeah, but you know who you're talking to too. It takes two incomes today to raise one family.
right.
And wait a minute, and let me say this to you. And let me say this to you. Let me say this to you, because my mother did not work outside the home, but she worked like hell inside of the home. So she didn't earn that salary. And if you calculated what wives would make, what homemakers would make, a husband couldn't afford to pay her. Stay right there, Philip. Let me let everybody else on the panel answer you, because I mean I think that you're bringing up some legitimate points, and I want you to be heard. CK, for it. The WNBA, they play 36 games, men play 82. What do you say?
Well, Santita, I think that the solution to this, I think everybody is basically come up with a solution, but the solution to this is with the owners of the team. They know how to galvanize the attention. They know how to position the players. They know how to pay them. It's all about economics. But without litigation, without a strong advocate on behalf of these women, nothing will change. And I think it's going to take litigation.
Well, Shannon, what do you say?
I think, I want to just make a quick point. I've heard this discussion, the last several weeks or so regarding Major League Soccer compared to WNBA, but I think we need to, again, take a step back and look at the investment in youth soccer in this country. It's been incredible. I mean, any of us, if we just drive out on a Saturday, anywhere in any place, you see all the youth soccer fields filled up. And again, from a women's basketball perspective, you don't have that same drop, same interest. So Major League Soccer has grown by leaps and bounds because of the youth soccer explosion. And the club soccer explosion, which we have these teams traveling all over playing, and now, just to make a quick point, you have a kid trying to go from youth soccer to collegiate soccer has a better chance of being recruited by playing on his or her club soccer team than he does on his or her high school team. I make that point. My younger brother is a head soccer girls coach in Houston, along with being a football coach. And he will have girls miss a game for his team to go play with their club team. So, again, my point is that there's been a huge investment in youth soccer that helped explode professional soccer in this country. Whereas we have not had the same investment. Yes, I know about AAU basketball, but from a female perspective, we don't have the same amount of females playing youth basketball as we do kids playing youth soccer. So I just want to make that point that we've got to really, go through this process and look at, I think as everyone says, we've got to look at how we're investing, how the owners are highlighting the sport, and so that there's a generated interest, so that the numbers will grow and the demand will grow. I mean, that's the case. Because everyone says about economics, supply and demand, and what do people want to see.
Absolutely. Maurice from Berwyn. Philip, I love you. I need to try and get some of these calls in. Maurice from Berwyn, what's on your mind? Maurice, you there? Well, then let's go to Paul from Seattle. Oh, Maurice, how you doing?
I'm all right. Sorry about that. I'm very terrified.
It's okay.
My point, I'll make a quick you that caller. My point was the fact that women's basketball is just not really men overall. I think sports still a heavily masculine field, and on average, men simply won't watch women. I'll be honest, I'm putting it out there. Women engage in typical female sports. And the other part is, if they were so popular, why aren't more women watching it? Where are women watching? Women spend all their energy watching what, specifically? Where are the women putting their ratings into? And the other part of it is, when you come on tennis, the popularity of tennis is simply about class. When you look out into the audience of most tennis matches, who's there? It's really for the elite. That's why tennis is popular. Tennis is not really popular among the common people. Tennis is for the upper class.
Oh, the in-person games are. The in-person games are for sure. They're so expensive. And now they have so many corporate boxes. It's unbelievable.
Correct.
Well, I think, but you know what, Maurice, some of that is...
One of the
out there.
But you know what, Maurice, I would say some of that is social conditioning. I mean, because the women lead the cheers for the men, right? I mean, and so there are a lot of barriers that we have to break through, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't break through the barriers. I don't think that basketball is I think it is just a great sport. And when I would see Cheryl Miller playing when I was very young, because she was in college when I was in grammar school, high school, she was just a great player, a great player. And I guess, I have to bring my own bias to this because my father would say of a Cheryl Miller and of women like that, now she's just great, just great. But, I've had a dad who was just extremely progressive in terms of his thoughts about what women could and should do. Nothing should stand in our way. I'm sending you much love. I'm glad you got a chance to be heard because I want people to think about what Maurice said, what Philip said today. Paul from Seattle. Paul, what's on your mind?
Morning. Yes, thank you, Santita.
Thank you.
Just hearing this discussion and the events this week in general, it seems to me we are in a 50-year regression because when you talk about bring up names like Billie Jean King, and I remember when Billie Jean played Bobby Riggs. I think that was
yes.
1973, maybe.
Yeah. I watched it. I was so excited, Paul. Oh.
Yeah. Who was it?
Oh.
And I really felt at the time that kind of answered the question, sort of once and for all, can a woman beat a professional man? And obviously, I think she beat a straight set. But do you remember also, I think it was the same year, and they may have been very close. That was the year of Roe versus Wade. And now we are in a position, 50 years later, and I remember Sandra Day O'Connor wrote in the Casey opinion in 1992, she wrote, a generation of women have grown up with choice. And she said, in court, a jurisprudence of doubt, there is no liberty in a jurisprudence of doubt. And now 2 generations of women have grown up with choice, and we are where we are now. And what I saw in those hearings with Judge Katanja Brown Jackson was astonishing. Did you remember anybody asking Amy Cody Barrett about critical race theory? That was only 18 months ago.
No, but you know what? But you know what? That's why Bill Cosby would not answer race questions, even though he is a true race man. He said, look, when you ask Bob Hope and Bob Newhart about racism in America, then you come back to me. Because I didn't come up with this. Stay right there, Paul, because I want CK to close this out. Stay right there, Paul from Seattle. CK, I've got 1 minute. It belongs to you.
Okay, well, I think, Santita, today we talked about something that's incredibly important to the world. And Brittany Grenier's presence in a jail in Russia, or in detention in Russia, has underscored the pay inequity for African American WNBA players as compared to their male counterparts. We've got to address fundamental issue. She is, without a question, now part of the political, diplomatic, potentially world war dynamic that is existing in the Ukraine, with Russia invading Ukraine, and with us having very, very difficult diplomatic relations. We've got to pray for her. We have to pray that the underlying claims against her do not stick. Because even if there's a diplomatic solution, she could be facing jail time. So I just want us to attack with at the core the pay inequity and support these women who every day are putting their bodies through hell like the men are, so that this country can enjoy a sport that they live and breathe.
Amen to that. Stay with me on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. I'm going to get closing thoughts from Attorney Terry O'Neill, Attorney Shannon Holmes, and Attorney Aaron Connolly. Sending you much love, Paul and Maurice and Philip, and all my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Thank you, Matt, for a great show. God bless you. Can't be with you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. I want to get closing thoughts from everyone, but let me say this to Medi. She said, it's sad that not much of the underlying issues have changed over the last 50 years. We still have to continue the fight for equal pay, for equal work. We cannot relax at any time on the laurels of women who fought the fight for equal pay, for pay equality. You're absolutely right. But this is where I slightly disagree with you, Attorney Medi Rodriguez. Things have changed a whole lot in 50 years. Things have changed a whole lot in 100 years, and in 150 years, and 200 years, CK. But you know what? The struggle continues. And you dig down, I mean, all of these prejudices and biases are so deep. It's like you peel back the layers like an onion, and then you got some more. I mean, wait a minute. Frederick Douglass was successful. Harriet Tubman was successful on their leg of the journey. Dr. King was successful on his leg of the journey. Constance Baker Motley, Charles Houston, Thurgood Marshall, Jesse Jackson. These folks have been successful. You don't know what they've done. Now, Cesar Chavez was successful. Yes. Now, what are you going to do? Go, CK.
Santita, and I agree with you 1,000%. And if we ever needed proof that there has been progress, but the struggle continues, it continues every day. Turn on the TV and look at the confirmation hearings of the most qualified person in my lifetime, other than Justice Thurgood Marshall,
Yes.
the most qualified person to present in the U.S. Senate to be confirmed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Look at those hearings. If you want to see microaggression, macroaggression, racism, sexism, oppression, disrespect, look at those hearings. Because the disrespect oftentimes doesn't have to come in terms of you yelling, although we did have that nonsense from Lindsey Graham.
Oh, my God.
It doesn't come. It comes in terms of what you are saying, showing cartoons from a book, asking you questions, and accusing you of being lenient against child molesters, against as it relates to child pornography, things like this. Those types of accusations, which are unfounded, they had their record all wrong. Somebody needed to be fired. When I was a young lawyer, and as a lawyer today, if I ever put together for my senior partner wrong information, bad information, or I was a trial lawyer, went to trial with bad information, bad facts, just had it wrong, all the errors in the documentation that they were citing, I would never have a job. I would have been fired. And as a lawyer, I would have been fired by my client. But yet these U.S. senators had information that they were citing, reading from, not only that was taken out of context, and some instances was flat out wrong. When they, one of the examples, don't get me started, when they said to her, why did you accuse him? Was that a character? Judge Kentucky Township, out of character. Why did you accuse the Secretary of Defense and President Bush of being a war criminal? You see, that's an example. She never accused in her brief. She just said, look, I don't remember that, but when we up said, show me the evidence of court. That's why she's the one being confirmed and not me. Because I don't think I digress. But anyway, a senator came back and cleaned up the record for her and said, let me remind you, and cited, you never said that. This is what was said. So they made that leap. They misspoke. They knew they were misspeaking. Or some
They knew they were lying, CK.
They knew they were lying, but they chose to denigrate, criticize, make her look bad so they could have a sound bite when they run for president or when they run for re-election. So if ever anyone needed to know how much more the struggle has to continue, that's proof positive. Ever anyone didn't understand the distinction between gender bias and racial bias, we are seeing it. When this woman, and she's bad to the bone, she's defending herself and her record. That's why anyone, Santita, that calls me from any media about anything relative to this hearing, I'm speaking. Because, I'm part of groups of so many Black women organizations, white women organizations, progressive organizations, men standing in solidarity with her, because the message is this has got to stop. Enough is enough. When she's going through it, she's doing it, and she's also going to be confirmed. I'm putting it out there. I don't trust some of these Democrats, but I think because of the way that they have attacked her, and they think because they're not yelling and acting crazy, that although it's something like Ted Cruz to me was acting crazy, but because all of them are acting crazy, that they think, oh no, this is a kinder, gentler. As I said yesterday, they were going to take her through the ringer, and they had taken her through the ringer. But what I love about it is that she maintained her cool, because when you are superbly qualified, when you are excellent, when you have a record to stand on, when you are bad to the bone, when you paid your dues, when you can look someone in the face and say, I have played by the rules, I've paid my dues, I've done my dues, I've worked hard, I'm more prepared than everyone, you say, bring it on. And that's what she did. And so she took it all the way down, and she dominated those hearings, really, in her very, very quiet, yet assertive way, and demonstrated to the world exactly the type of justice she's going to be. You're not going to push her around. She's going to let you talk for a minute, but she's not going to be bullied, and she's going to stand by her record, which is impeccable.
Yeah, and she's not going to be intimidated by these people who want her seat. Oh, go on.
Who want her seat? And she's understand what time it is. And by the way, and I have to put it out there, that's what it is. She seems like it because that's what it is to grow up black in America. How about that? That's what it is.
It's all okay.
That's what it is to grow up as a black woman in America. That's what it is to be a black professional woman. That's what it is to be a black woman lawyer in America. Because you've been through all these battles. So in her mind, she's like, oh yeah, I got that battle. That one I encountered in law school. Oh, that one was in high school. So when these amateurish, baby kid senators are coming at her with some of their comments and thoughts, she goes back to her experiences, because she has gone through hell in her life, like all of us have, to get to where she's gotten to.
That's right. Yes. Yes.
I want to respond to yeah, this is Paul. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to respond to CK.
Okay, you all, I have about 5 more minutes, so Paul, I need you to respond, and I'm going to get everybody else, because my battery's going to go on my iPad.
Okay. I see what you're saying. So you could tell from one of the opening remarks that one of the Republican senators made that it set the tone when he said, nobody's going to ask you about whether you like beer. And the implication being, see, no Democrat ever asked, Kavanaugh, whether he liked beer. He's the one who wrote that. He himself brought it up that he likes beer. And it was interesting to me that I thought in many ways I would have loved to see Judge Brown Jackson respond more aggressively. For instance, when I think it was Marsha Blackburn asked her, can you define the word woman for me? And she declined to do that, but I would have liked for her to say, why don't you give me a deputy senator and I will be the adjudicator. She could,
you know why she couldn't do that, Paul? She can't do that. The same reason Raphael Warnock could not respond to his opponent.
Yeah.
You have to, I mean.
And I have to, Paul, let me say, I was up there, I would have said that.
No, you wouldn't have. No, you wouldn't. No, girl, get out. No, you wouldn't. No, please.
I may not have said exactly what Paul said, but in my way of responding, I would have done it in a diplomatic way. But she is who she is. She's effective because of her style.
I'm going to take up for CK, because CK is so cool under all kinds of pressure. And that is something that you not just as a lawyer, but as a friend, you're like, wait a minute, hold on, don't do that. Don't pull that trigger. Hold on, wait a minute. You know that's how you do. And because as a tactic, you have to respond a particular way. But hold on, Paul. I need to get everybody else in, because you know what? We'll talk about this more tomorrow, because there's more to see today. Quite frankly, there's more to see today. Let me go to Attorney Shannon Holmes. Your closing thoughts, and we're going to have you back to talk about this and more.
One of the best points of
in the world.
Absolutely.
I had to add that. National Bar Association member. Let me just throw that out. I'm sorry, Shannon.
Thank you both. But CK, you did an unbelievable job yesterday, and I shared those thoughts with you. Tried to capture a couple images of you yesterday, but it was great to see you responding. And America got to see one of our great attorneys, female attorneys as well, just attorneys in general. But yeah, no, I think CK, I think it'd be great to at some point to sit down and talk about how do we help the WNBA, and is there any path to helping not only the WNBA athletes but other female athletes, professional athletes in this country, equalize and have an opportunity to stay here and earn fair wages, if you will, for their skill set. But yeah, I think it's something. I think this whole thing with Brittany, as CK as you said, it definitely highlighted that we need to rethink how we're approaching things with professional female sports here in the U.S. But thanks again for having me.
Oh, you are more than welcome. Thank you for responding in the middle of the night and for being with us today, because you added so much, and really you're the inspiration behind this segment. You were so impassioned, when you were last on the show. Attorney Erin Connolly, if you are still there, because I know she's got a lot going on with the family.
I am. Erin, and I called you my Erin Connolly. You don't know this. I really do. I am so excited to see you on television. I really think you are going to need your own legal analysis show.
She does.
You're amazing. And so I echo everything Santita said. Tweet at MSNBC and let them know you want more of CK Hopper.
That's right.
I think. And so exciting about Dr. Verholden. I saw that promotion. Oh my goodness, how wonderful.
Isn't it?
It's wonderful news. So great week. Well, thank you for having me as part of this conversation. It's so important. I think we should all be coming together and figure out ways that we can not only be great patrons of women's sports in this country, but also help advocate, when we're on Capitol Hill. Are we talking about equity, right? This is Women's History Month. We see these amazing women making history every day. I'm lucky enough to see one running for Congress. And what are we really doing with our policies? Because we had the Lilly Ledbetter Act quite a while ago. I remember being excited for President Obama to sign that. Yet we do not have the equity that law should give us, right? So what can we do to make sure it's enforced in a way that is really impacting women and their families and their local communities, right? The more money women bring in, the more goes back to their immediate circle, right? You see women give to women. You see women buy from women's small business. It's the impact that we can have with this is really, really powerful, but we should be getting what we deserve. Thank you for having this conversation today.
Well, really one of the godmothers of the women's movement in the United States and around the world, Attorney Terry O'Neill. Why don't you wrap this up for us?
Well, I want to say that, yes, CK Hopper should be on MSNBC. She should have her show on MSNBC. I'm so grateful to hear your voice, right, as calling out all these outrageous, misogynoir attacks on Judge Brown Jackson. So, yes, thank you. On the, equal pay for WNBA players, I want to go back to what one of your listeners said, Santita, that, the male basketball players are playing a lot more games. Well, just over twice as many games maybe the men play. They're not making $700,000, to Brittany Grenier's $250,000. They're making $45 million to Brittany Grenier's $250,000. There's a big difference. And I think one of the main things we need to do is pressure the public schools to actually make girls' sports and girls' athletics on an equal footing with the boys. That is still not happening across the board. The girls don't have the good playing time. They don't have the good fields to play on. That just on every little measure, the boys are preferred. over the girls. We need to change that. And that's going to be a big part of changing this whole unequal pay for elite women athletes problem.
Amen to that. And you know, I tell you what, Sha'Carri Richardson set the world on fire. CK, Shannon Holmes, Terry O'Neill, Erin Connolly. I mean, when women athletes are allowed to go on and be all that they can be, they're all we want to see. We want to see excellence on every court, on every field of play. That is all we're asking for. And let me tell you something, women and men are constructed differently. Remember the last Grand Slam Serena Williams won, she won pregnant. And she will tell you, you know, my body changed. A lot of things, she carried another life. So don't ask me to be just like a man. I'm not like you. You can't have babies. That's not what you do. But you can plant the seed that can help a baby to grow. But I have to be the fertile soil for the child to grow. We all bring something to the table, and it's all good. So 36 games, 82 games, whatever it is. The thing is, we said, you know, there should be equity in this. These women should not have to go overseas and play another season. Not an exhibition season, but another season. And to show you how unfair all of this is, you cannot find Little League Baseball in the United States anymore, not in the Black community. Because we have gone to find Black kids in the Caribbean and South and Central America because we don't have to pay them anything. It's slavery by another name, and it's shameful. And it is something that ought to bother you. And the NBA needs to grow up and twin the WNBA with the NBA and just grow it like they grew tennis. Tennis would not be what it is without the Williams sisters and without the great women players, without Naomi Osaka. It would not be what it is. And they play those tournaments together. You go to the tournaments and you're looking for Naomi and you're looking for Rafael Nadal. You're looking for Djokovic. You're looking for everybody because they're all playing in the same tournament. Let's just get out the box. And let's level this up. You know what? My girls from Hart. Oh, yes, y'all. I love Ann and Nancy Wilson. They said, even it up, even it up, even it up. That's all I'm asking for. Come on. You know.
Can I just tell a very, very quick, funny story to lighten it up? Because everything that you're saying, I have my marching orders, and Shannon and I are going to see how we can help with some legal solutions and bring together a team, because this really has to change.
Yes.
It really has to change. And Santita, thank you for igniting this and having this dialogue. But if I could share just in 30 seconds a very funny story with you all.
Yes.
Just to end. Okay, when I was younger, I went to high school at a private school in Canada. It was a Scottish school. And I ran track. And I was undefeated in the private school circuit. Undefeated, meaning no one ever beat me. I ran the 100-meter dash. I did relays. I was a superstar running track. I mean, super duper star. All of my colleagues and the coaches, oh, she's taking me to go to the Olympics. I mean, this was a discussion. I was undefeated, bad to the bone. When I came home and told my mother, I said, Mommy, because I was in a boarding school, so when I come home, I said, Mommy, they were talking about going to the Olympics. I mean, the coaches are this and that are undefeated. My mother said, and that's lovely, so let's stay on the honor roll. Yeah, let's stay on the honor roll. So I was undefeated. My last semester of grade 13, because back then, you could go to grade 13. Grade 13, last semester, we had a province-wide track meet where the public schools joined in. And this was during the time of FloJo.
Oh.
And at the high school, we wore kilts. We were not able to wear any makeup. We wore green socks, bloomers. And when we competed, we had on bloomers, green socks, running shoes, and a white shirt, no makeup, no jewelry.
Ugh.
During the age of FloJo. So we get to this tournament with the public schools in Toronto. And the girls have FloJo like hair flowing, nails everywhere, makeup, and they're looking at me because these black girls. They're looking at me saying, "What my mother kept on saying, remember the honor roll. Let's stay on the honor roll. Lord have mercy, Jesus. So the first time in my life, I was left in the smoke. My little girl had on long hair and nails, makeup, and lip. They left me in the smoke with my bloomers, green socks, looking crazy, no makeup stuff. And I remember when my mother said, let's focus on. So there we have it.
Honey, sounds like my mother was singing, okay? So that's lovely. I'm so glad that you are in all of these groups. That's lovely, but so many can sing, okay? I don't think so. I know you can get an academic scholarship, so please stick with this. What did you say, Lorraine? Mama knew? Yeah, my mama knew too. Oh, wait a minute. And TK's mother's so lovely. Oh, well, that's lovely. Now stick with the honor roll. Ow!
You don't want to discourage your child.
Honey, my mother was a discourager. She would look at me like, are you crazy? And you know my mother is now, you are nuts. I've seen how these other kids are running. No, and you don't have that, girl. Oh my gosh. Oh boy, I love you all. I'm about to lose power on my, but I love you. I'm gonna let you all go. Thank you. I can't wait to be with you tomorrow. I love you, everybody. Okay, bye bye. Oh my goodness. Bye bye. That's lovely. You too. That's lovely. Bye bye.